Welcome back for more Reddit story videos. Today we have several entitled parent stories for you to enjoy. As always, don't forget to share and like if you enjoy these videos. Without further ado, here we go. EM labels me the office slut for wearing a swimsuit at a surf school. I'm a surf instructor at a surf school on the beach. It was the end of the day, I had just finished my final class. I've done 5-hour-long classes in a row and I was covered in water and wet sand, so I just wanted to get the thing off me and maybe go for a swim before I left the beach. I was in the surf shack we're based in with 3 co-workers, who I will call Sam, Joe and Mick. Names change, but Sam in real life has an equally gender neutral name. I texted my boyfriend, who confirmed he was 5 minutes away. I would already finish my part of the closing up process, so while Sam put the close sign on the door and locked up the filing cabinet, and Joe and Mick sorted out the wetsuits and put the boards back in their holders, I left the boys to finish up and went to the changing area to strip off my wetsuit. I'd gotten down to my tankini when I heard a loud, nasally American accent voice. EM: "Excuse me? Hello? Service please." Seeing the boys were occupied, I pulled on my skirt and went to the door. EM did not look like a stereotypical Karen, long hair, tan, wearing a bikini with a big floppy beach hat and a sarong around her waist. Her daughter was with her, looked around 10-12 years old and like her mom's mini, but she didn't speak once during this encounter, so I don't know if she's entitled or not. Me: "Hey, can I help you?" EM: "You could start by putting some clothes on. My tankini is covering about the same amount of skin as a one-piece would, aside from a strip of exposed skin by my waist, and I'll admit that the neckline is kind of low, but EM is literally wearing a bikini with way more exposed skin than me." Me: "Customer service mode activated. I am very sorry, miss. Sam, can you grab me my shirt please?" He throws my tank top at me and I pull it on. "Better?" EM: "Not really. Is there anyone else who can take care of us?" Sorry, my co-workers are a little bit busy right now. We're closing up." EM: "Fine. I want to sign my daughter up for classes tomorrow." I start to talk her through the availability slots, when we can fit her kid in, prices and requirements. While I do this, I'm gesturing with my hands and leaning over the counter to point out some stuff on the sign-up sheet. EM interrupting me: "I'm sorry, don't you have a sweatshirt or something? It's the middle of summer in a heat wave on the beach." Me clinging to my customer service smile because I'm technically on the clock. "I'm sorry, no I don't. Would you like me to carry on?" EM: "Is there no one else I could speak to? You're making my daughter feel self-conscious." Me giving up on being polite: "You're making me feel self-conscious. It's summer, it's a beach, it's a heat wave. I do not have another shirt. Everything that needs to be covered is covered, and with all due respect, you're wearing less than I am." Sam, wearing a t-shirt and denim shorts, hears all this and recognizes my tone as my "I'm about to snap" tone, so he looks at me. I nod at him and he jumps in. Sam: "I'll be happy to help you, miss. My name is Sam. OP, why don't you go?" EM: "Sam is a guy." Sam: "Last I checked." EM: "I thought you were a girl." Sam: "Sorry to disappoint." EM to me: "Do you think it's appropriate to wander around like that when there is a young man nearby?" To Sam: "You should report her to HR." Sam: "It's a beach. People walk around in less all the time." EM repeating: "It's inappropriate." Sam: "You're wearing a bikini." "I'm not working, she is." "You do know this is a surf school." Mick and Joe hear the noise. EM hasn't raised her voice or yelled or anything, but they can hear the tone of the conversation and decided they should step in just in case. Mick and Joe are both wearing board shorts and flip-flops, no shirts. Mick: "Come up behind me." Is there a problem here?" Joe at Mick's side: "Anything we can help with?" EM's eyes go wide. She looks between me and the 3 boys in shock and horror. EM recovering herself: "I was just saying that she was just telling me to put some clothes on." Mick: "You know this is a beach, right? If anything, she's overdressed." EM can see she's not going to persuade me to magically summon more clothing to wear. And you can tell from her eyes she knows the boys won't agree with her. Then a thought hits her like a brick to her hollow head. EM. Just what were you four doing back there? Joe closing up. I'm not stupid, I beg to differ. You're telling me she answered the door practically naked and you're all wearing barely anything but nothing's going on here? Mick jokingly. OP, we've told you not to answer the door naked, I laugh. EM, don't you laugh at me, you little whore. I know what's going on here, you perverts. Sam, who is gay, is in all out. Doubled over, peals of laughter. EM's daughter looks really embarrassed and is bright red with her face in her hands. Sam, you think that? Trials off mid-sentence in favor of more laughing. EM, oh sure, everyone protects the office slut. Joe literally falls to the floor, clutching his stomach laughing. Mick, yeah, now if you don't mind, we're mid-orgy, so get in or get out. It's just then that my boyfriend shows up. Boyfriend sees me, Joe, Sam and Mick pissing ourselves laughing, EM looking homicidal and the daughter bright red with her face in her hands. Everything okay here? Boyfriend comes over and gives me a hug and I get the frankly genius idea to pull him in for a kiss in full view of EM. EM screeches some demonic noise that only dogs can hear and stomps off, her poor daughter in tow, and that's the last we ever heard from her. But you're gay, so that means your son is gay, so he has to go on a date with my son. Not really how that works, but okay. This happened over the weekend. My wife, son and I went to a movie. We try to have one family day a week. We had just gotten our tickets to see Yesterday's, the movie about everyone forgetting the Beatles, and were in line to get snacks. Our family had been to this movie theater many times, and because of this, my wife and I were lesbians, felt safe holding hands and acting like we're a couple, no PDA. This normally doesn't attract any attention in the area the theater is in. Today, however, it got us into an odd situation. Cast: me, wife, son, EM, ET, embarrassed teen, he wasn't entitled at all, and ED, embarrassed dad, ET's father. My son offered to pay for snacks and drinks at the movie, so we started heading over to the concession area. My wife and I stood to the side while our son ordered. EM, ET and ED walked up behind us in line. I could hear EM say something along the lines of, "Oh, isn't that sweet?" I assumed she meant that it was sweet of my son to pay for us, but I didn't say anything. EM, excuse me? My wife and I looked at her and instinctively let go of each other's hand just in case. Me, yes madam? EM, I just wanted to say that you and your partner are so cute together. I've recently found a new respect for gay people. My son just came out. ET's face went bright red and he nudges his mom slightly with his elbow. What? You should be proud of who you are. We should find you a boyfriend so you can be as happy as these ladies. Me, well, thank you madam, and I'm happy for you and your son. At this point, my son turned back to us and handed us our drink cups. EM gasped a little and whispered something to her son. It's important to note that our son is very handsome. He takes pride in his appearance and works out with my wife on a nearly daily basis. I may be a bit biased, but I think my son is the most handsome kid out there. We started walking away from the concession area to get to our theater when our son got a tap on the shoulder. ET, excuse me? Son, what's up? I was wondering if you wanted to go out with me to get coffee sometime. I'm sorry man, I'm straight, but if you want to hang out and play video games I forgot the name of, I'm in. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. They exchanged numbers and made plans to hang out. We then started towards our theater again while ET walked back to EM and ED, who had just finished getting their stuff. Just as we were about to get into the theater, we heard EM shouting. EM, what? What do you mean he's straight? He's straight? Where is he? Son, oh shit. Now, I tend to get a bit overprotective of my son, so my wife told me that she was going to take the lead here so that things didn't escalate too hard, which I thought was fair. We stood in the hall and waited for EM to stomp over to us. She didn't disappoint. EM, how dare you reject my son? Son, I'm sorry madam, but I'm straight. It's just not your son I'm interested in, it's all boys. EM, what do you mean? Is my son not good enough for you? The whole time ET and ED were trying to calm EM down to no avail. Son: Madam, I'm interested in girls. I'm not interested in boys. Your son and I have just made plans to hang out as friends though. Oh no, honey, he shouldn't have said that. EM: You friend-zoned my son? Wife: Madam, my son had made it clear that he's not interested in dating your son. Please leave us alone. EM: But you're gay. That means that he's gay, so he has to date my son. Wife: Madam, that's not how sexuality works. EM: Yes it is. Why would you adopt a straight child as a gay couple? Because... Son, don't. It will just make it worse. Why won't you date my son? I want a real reason. Is being straight not a good enough reason? Not even close. My son turned you and won't know unless you try. ET: Mom, knock it off. He's not interested. He's straight. I'm fine with that. The only person that is upset about the two of us not dating is you. EM: I'm trying to get you a hot boyfriend. I'm trying to be a supportive parent. They started fighting between themselves, so we used that as a distraction to get out of there and into the theater, which thankfully was already dark, so they wouldn't be able to see us. My son got a text from the ET when he turned his phone back on after the movie, apologizing for his mom and also canceling their plans because my mom doesn't want you around me unless it's a date. My son just laughed it off and said it was fine. People be crazy sometimes, lol. Crazy mom tries to take my $4,000 guitar and my $230 baritone ukulele. For context, I own a few guitars, not the same type of course. Among is my Platinum Cordoba Master Series Hauser, which retails for upwards of $4,000. I bought it for that price, yes, me, with my own money as a teenager, along with tax of course. And the luxury tax where I live is 7% off the original price. It's a classical guitar that's made for a professional level. So yeah, I put a lot of money in this guitar. His name is Papa after my grandfather who taught me to play it and one of the only people in my family who weren't pricks growing up. I'm still technically growing up, but I'm almost at adulthood, so I'm more focused on leaving than their abuse. I also have more than one ukulele, all ranging in size. However, the one in this story is a Cordoba 24B baritone ukulele, which retails for $230, and the custom decals added to it would price it at closer to $500. Her name is Danu, named after the Celtic goddess of creation because she was what kickstarted my interest in ukuleles. I do play more instruments, but this story isn't really about that. Okay, so I suppose I should explain how two separate instruments got stolen by the same lady on the same day. I have a band with one of my friends from school, and when we aren't busy, we like to mess around on our instruments at various areas in my town. It's usually in parks or areas near the shops. I'm still learning English as French is my first language and some words I have trouble translating. But there is this large outdoor square, surrounded by old trains and stuff. It has this large open area around a big roofed building thing. It's not walled in, but it's generally used for an ice skating rink during the winter and a farmer's market during the summer. It's open to the public otherwise. My friend and I usually sit in the surrounding area, full of lots of trees and benches. It's a pretty common area for people to take walks and relax. Some people even stop to listen to us playing. He's been playing guitar for 10 years and is incredible at it, and I've been playing the ukulele for 2 years. However, I have priors that made learning the ukulele easier. My family also forces their kids to be taught music classically from the time we can hold an instrument because of the way it looks for their reputation. They're from a very wealthy and respected family in France, which no, I will not give out for the sake of my safety. And as always, as they were in their teaching methods and their attitudes towards things that weren't absolutely perfect, I once got a hit with a big ruler for being a quarter note off during a practice session without any accompaniment. I was 9 by the way. I still learned respect for music and I still enjoy playing it. I hold most instruments in high respect, and so does my friend. He also doesn't have a high quality guitar, and while people who don't know much about music can't really tell, the quality is noticeable to us. So I let him borrow one of my guitars. I know that he won't damage it on purpose and he's not going to screw it up. I tend to lend him either my Martin or my Cordoba. That day I brought my Cordobas with me. I played on the ukulele while he plays my guitar. We sound pretty good for the most part because we both have a pretty big knowledge of music and constructing and playing songs because of years of study. Anyways, we've been playing for about an hour prior to the woman showing up. The kid rolled up first, no more than maybe 6 or 7, but I'm not very good at judging age, so I'm not entirely sure. He seemed genuinely interested in an instrument and asked to play. I of course politely declined, explaining that the instruments were incredibly expensive and I wasn't comfortable with giving it to a child, let alone a child I don't even know. He said nothing and wandered off somewhere. We shrugged and went back to playing. A few minutes later, a woman in her late 20s to early 30s stomped over angrily. She wasn't your typical Karen. Long brown hair, green eyes, moderately attractive, not super attractive and not super unattractive. Aesthetically speaking, her personality dropped her to a hard 0 though. At least what I gathered from our interaction. The lady stormed up to us and glared. "My son says you won't let him play your guitars." "Both of these instruments are very expensive, madam," I respond. "I'm not alright with letting someone who isn't musically trained, much less someone I've not met, use them. I apologize." "My son has been learning music in school. He's very good at the recorder," she states proudly. "That does not translate to a strings instrument. I'm sorry. These are professional. I don't care what they are. Let him play," she all but shouts. "These are worth a large amount. The guitar my friend is using is worth over $4,000. This ukulele is worth almost $500. "What?" she asks incredulously. Thinking that she misunderstood me because of my accent, I start to repeat myself, this time taking care to have a more flat accent. "They're worth... I heard you the first time. I'm not autistic or something," she stomps her foot. I growl loudly. I've been diagnosed with ASD myself and I really don't appreciate people using my disability in an insulting way like that. Pute. But nicely. The word pute means dirty woman. "What did you just call me?" she scuffled. "Nothing. But please don't use autism the way you did. It's incredibly degrading, not only to yourself but the people who actually suffer with it. Granted, I did just call this woman a degrading term, but she hasn't exactly been nice to this point." "No, I know you called me something in Spanish. I can see the similarities with pute and puta, but they don't really mean the same thing, at least according to my Cuban cousins. Pute doesn't exactly mean female dog, although I doubt she misheard me say puta and decided I was speaking Spanish. "I didn't say anything, madam, but as I stated before, ugh. Your college kids are so entitled, no wonder you're all in debt," she scoffed. For clarity, I'm still in high school and don't even plan on going to university regardless. Well, I'm still not giving you my "you shouldn't even have that." It's clearly a kid's guitar. She rolls her eyes at me like I'm the idiot. For reference, a baritone ukulele is a lot bigger than a soprano, which is the ones you usually see the aesthetic ukulele players who mostly play Riptide. Which is not a bad song by any means, but it's a bit overplayed now. Baritones do look like mini guitars, however they only have 4 strings, which are nylon rather than a more common steel. Granted, the guitar my friend had was equipped with nylon strings, but that's because it's a classical guitar. "This is a ukulele, madam," I respond. "Ukuleles aren't that big," she scoffed. "If you know so much about music, then you should know that. Baritone ukuleles are much bigger than sopranos. Those are the most common." "That's fake. Ukuleles are tiny." "Then why does it have 4 nylon strings?" "Because it's clearly a child's guitar. What child would start with 6 strings? That's way too many." My friend snorted loudly and said in a voice that sounded like the time that the guy made that joke in the initiation in Full Metal Jacket. "Yeah, who would learn guitar with an actual guitar? That's insane." I snorted too, but not as deep. More without that grunt thing. "Are you making fun of me?" the woman shrieked. My friend was most likely high out of his mind, so I doubt he really cared. "No, madam," he responded in the same voice, clearly trying to hold in a smile. "Yes, you are. I'm going to call the police." She stopped and gathered a sly grin onto her face. But if you give my son your guitars, I won't press charges. She reached for my ukulele. Mon Dieu, I shouted. If I'm caught off guard, I tend to switch over to French. I barely managed to move back and swat her hand away in time. Stupid girl. I'm not a girl, but it's a common mistake and most people just assume I'm one because it's pretty rare to find someone who identifies as neither. And before anyone says anything, I really don't care what you have to say about my gender identity, seeing as though this post has nothing to do with that. You can't just take my instruments, that's illegal. I carefully hug my ukulele away from her. You're clearly not from this country, so you don't know how the law works, she growled. I've lived here most of my life and insulting someone isn't illegal in either country, whereas stealing private property is, I just sighed. You don't deserve it for breaking the law, she scoffed, as she reached for the guitar in my friend's hand. He just put his foot out, causing her to not be able to reach him. He's over 6 foot, so this is easy for him. I'll do it, but I'm barely 5'4". Wouldn't work all that well unless the person I was trying to hold back was a dwarf or a child, or both. She screams in frustration and begins going on a rant about how we have no respect for having kids and it's so hard taking care of children and she's so broke and can't afford a nice guitar, so I should just give it over. I don't doubt raising kids is difficult, but that still doesn't entitle you to a $4,000 instrument. I begin to pack up while she's doing this, and so does my friend. We get up and start to leave when this woman shrieks out, "How dare you be so disrespectful and leave while your elder is talking." We ignore her and continue to his car, figuring it would be better if we stayed in there. I don't like to drive because I'm terrified of cars and the town is walking distance from my house, so my car wasn't there. The woman races after us and violently yanks on my shoulder, screeching about profanities and yet more insults about disabled people. I throw her hand off me and place my ukulele in the car next to the guitar that my friend had put in while the lady was freaking out. "Bête comme ses pieds," I yelled in her face as I hurried into the car and shut the door. It means, "You're as stupid as feet." The woman yells at us as my friend drives away and we get on with our day. Oh, as a side note, the kid wasn't throwing a tantrum, he didn't really seem to care. This woman made a huge deal out of nothing. So those were the stories for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, a like would be highly appreciated. It really does help my channel out. Also, if you enjoy this and want to stay up to date on the latest videos, then don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening and I will see you in the next video.